Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to get our latest updates.
A couple of quick questions from the audience that have come. Any suggestions for hallucinations? Asked somebody. My mother constantly thinks my father is at home, but he passed away 20 years ago, or her sisters who are in another city. Dr. Sridhar, you want to try that first? If there's anybody else who wants to pop in, they can.
I think this particular symptom is not uncommon in people with dementia. Believing that someone else who's passed away or who's no longer here, being with them is a common experience that many people with dementia have. Now, we need to clinically examine this carefully and differentiate it from hallucinations. Hallucinations are quite a different set of things, wherein they actually see someone who is not actually there. So hallucinations can also happen in dementia, and the treatment of that is slightly different. And often the cause for frank hallucinations, that is seeing people, not thinking people, seeing people who are not actually there. Sometimes people see animals, people see things in the room that are not there, and things like that. Often that happens because of poor vision, that when someone develops a poor vision due to cataract, common problems in elderly, cataract, retinal problems, those kind of things can decrease their vision and can result in them misinterpreting stimuli. They can see a screen and think that somebody is there or something is there, or they can see a pattern, a crack in the wall, and say there is a snake climbing up the wall and things like that. So this happens a lot. So the best way to treat this or to manage this will be to fix the crack on the wall, improve lighting in the room. If you have a better lighting, that takes away many of these visual kind of illusions and hallucinations. And of course, correct their vision. So get them checked by an ophthalmologist, get their glasses changed. If they need a cataract procedure done, get that done. So those kind of things are things which we'll advise. Now, despite this, if the symptoms persist, then obviously there are medicines which are available which can help with these problems. So that can be done in the clinic. But the person needs to be examined carefully and investigated carefully for that. Now, for people thinking or having a memory of someone, so they may still believe, like Mrs. Gomathi said, that her mother-in-law wanted to go and give coffee to her father-in-law, the mother-in-law's father-in-law. Correct. Which that happens because people with dementia, sometimes they live in different time zones. They actually, they have forgotten what has happened in the last, say, 10, 15, 20 years, depending on how advanced the illness is. Now, what happens in dementia is that people lose more recent memories first, but they tend to retain long-term memories for a longer period of time until quite late in the illness. So they may forget that they have lived with their children for a long period of time, or that they may forget that their husband or wife has passed away recently. They may forget that things have changed and they have a new grandchild and things like that. But they will have a clear memory of the time that they were married, the time that they were children themselves, they went to school and things like that. So when this happens, when they tend to live in different time zones, that causes this kind of problem. Now, again, this happens because usually when they are idle, if you look at the pattern in which these symptoms happen, usually you will see they happen in the afternoon. They happen later in the evenings. And this is a very usual pattern because that's when people are not being actively engaged or doing much. They usually have a nap in the afternoon. They get up and then they are a little bit confused. And then, of course, come evening, the natural light comes down and then you have all these artificial lights. And sometimes there is the lights aren't bright enough in the house. And then they get a bit confused about where they are, what they are doing. And when they are confused like that, then they can imagine things. Then they go back to what memories they have, what is comforting to them, and then they kind of talk about these kind of issues. So the best way to manage this is to keep them active, keep them engaged. Okay, so it comes down to the same thing. Check for physical illnesses, keep them active and engaged, and that will actually prevent many of these problems. But despite all this, if these problems persist, then they should see a specialist and they can kind of guide them and help them in this process.
Right, right. One quick question that's, you want to add to that,
would
Mangala?
like to add
Okay.
something. First of all, whatever may be the thing that they are saying, never contradict them. Just go by their story. That is one. That is what Dr. Sridhar was saying also. And
Right.
if it is an issue like somebody in the past, or if they feel that somebody has just passed away, or they are reliving that condition again, then the best thing is to comfort them that time, because their sorrow is real. Then third
Right.
thing is try to distract them. So if we distract them into some kind of other interesting activity, then after some time they tend to forget this. And they come out of this, because I have seen during our activities also, sometimes patients say that I have to go because my mother is calling me. And then we are doing the activities anyway, so we tell them that we will call up your mother and tell her that you are going to be late by half an hour or so. And while the person
Right.
is still doing the activities, he completely forgets it in about 10 minutes time. So
Right.
distraction works best in some of these incidences. I won't say every time, but at least it's worth giving it a try.
Right, right. Quick one also, what calms down a person in the face of extreme agitation? And I'm conscious that we are 5 minutes over time, so we'll quickly go through the questions. What calms down a person in the face of extreme agitation and irritation? Talking to them just aggravates in our case.
Okay, I'll probably start, and both Mangala and
Right.
can contribute. If you feel that something is aggravating them, then remove yourself. If you think that it's safe to do so, if you believe, again, as Mangala said, when it's no point trying to use logic, trying to kind of contradict them or explain in the sense that, oh, this person is no longer here, why do you want to talk about them? That doesn't work. It only makes them more angry at you, and they try to prove their point. So it doesn't work.
Right.
So in those circumstances, if it helps, you move away from there. And as Mangala said, all the right things. So try to distract them, try to give them something else to do, something that will occupy them during that period of time. But often prevention is the best strategy. If you see this is happening a few times, then it's best to see what is precipitating them. Is there a pattern to this? When does this happen? What brings it on? And if you see that pattern, then you can try and prevent it from happening again. So that's the key. But I'll just give you a very quick example. There was this lady who I was dealing with advanced dementia. Her husband had passed away, and she didn't know that her husband had passed away. She had forgotten that her husband passed away. So every time she kind of, in the afternoons, there will be a big breakdown. She'll become very kind of upset, cry and all that. And it happens that she comes out of her room in the afternoon, and then she sees this big picture of her dead husband in the wall with a garland around it, and it brings back the memory of this particular incident. And then she kind of goes through the grief process every day. I mean, they're reliving and going through the process every day, so which was very difficult for the family to deal with. So the simple advice was to remove that photograph from that point, from that place. And people don't talk about it in the house. They don't actively bring that subject. And people kind of manage. And she didn't actually ask about her husband at all. She had completely forgotten if she's not stimulated. So this is just a very simple kind of an example. It's not that it will work for every person, but you can kind of use this as a framework to help someone who may be agitated, to understand what is making them agitated and prevent that from happening. That's the best way to manage it.
Right. Gomathi, I think I'll